I would like to go over the discussion post rubric with you before the course begins and before you start your first assignment for Chapter 1. Pay special attention to the bulleted descriptions. A weakness in a single bulleted description will greatly affect the grade for that category. For example, in the focus category, if the prompt is partially or unclearly addressed, 5 to 10 points will be deducted. The focus is basically, are you completely and clearly addressing the plot? Are you clearly and completely addressing the prompt? Is it clear? Is there a clear and interesting central idea or implied sole focus of the piece is evident or gradually revealed? Make sure that the writing is appropriate for and clearly directed at a specific audience and or for a specific situation or occasion. And the appropriate forum or audience is for the professor and your fellow students. This is a graduate level class. This is not to children. This is not for presentation to parents and so forth. Make sure that the focus is well developed, enticing, opening, leads to essay's central idea. And so make sure I know from the beginning what your stance is going to be. Now, some of these questions have more than one question. Try as much as possible to spend about an equal amount of space or time in answering each of those. If you go into the poor area category, you'll see that the prompt is partially or unclearly addressed, which would be evidence of not reading the chapter or perhaps not understanding the chapter. You might need to read the chapter more than one time, or especially the parts that deal with the prompt, you might have to read those several times. Now, I tried to choose prompts that would encompass a large portion of the chapter. So it's going to be important to have a good understanding of the chapter or to write a good posting for your classmates and for me. Going down to the grammar and mechanics, that's worth only 20%, whereas the focus was 40% of the grade. To get all the grammar points, free of grammatical errors, errors of subject, verb, agreement, verb and adjective, forms and pronoun, referent, agreement, etc. Free of mechanical errors in punctuation, capitalization, spelling, use of numbers, etc. And then you're going to find that if your writing consistently has many errors and it's difficult to understand, then you could lose as much as 10 points from your assignment because of grammar and punctuation. Remember that the post that you do first is worth 30 points and the response to your peers is worth 10 points. But I consider all of these things in both parts of it, and so the grade will be reflective of how good your focus is in both the post and in your responses, and how good your grammar and mechanics are in both the post and the responses. Remember that when you do respond to your peers, make sure that you are responding to the question that was asked, not just about the story or the anecdote that your peer is using to illustrate their thought, but make sure you reply and respond to your peer in a substantive way as it relates to the question. Either you agree, you might disagree in a polite way, you might have other examples to strengthen the response of your peer and so forth. Going down now to the research part of the prompt, this is another 40%. The best thing you can do is to learn APA citation and reference list format as quickly as possible. I will start out easy for the first assignment, where for the first week you won't lose more than 5 points for poor APA styles in references or in in-text citations, but I will be taking off as much as 10 points or even more, as many as 15 points if APA style is not used appropriately in assignments after the very first one, after you've gotten your first grade, so starting in the second week. I'll take up and even up to 15 points if the references you're using aren't academic enough. For instance, I don't want to see anything from Wikipedia, and I don't want to see references from popular education or .com websites. They should be from EDU websites or from library websites. They should be from library books. Now, the best thing you can do is to perhaps get some reference books or books, not textbooks necessarily, but books on curriculum that might be in the library. Hold on to them for the semester. Find out where they're talking about the same kind of things that are being talked about in the book and use those as some of your references. You don't have to always go to a website to find textbooks or reference books to use as you expand your knowledge beyond what was just in the textbook. So make sure that you're using good sources and make sure that you're following APA documentation. I have a PowerPoint that I explain to some degree as far as what I'm looking for and what's important. And also there is the Purdue OWL, give you a link to, or you can find the link to it. It's in the syllabus, and you can also, especially if you are just starting your graduate program, you might want to invest in the actual handbook, APA handbook. It's not that expensive compared to a lot of textbooks, and it might just be a nice reference text for you to have as you become a better student and researcher.